And now...
What is this?
I know you're gonna dig this.
This is the Flatland Sports Podcast.
Where do you come from? Lubbock, Texas?
Lubbock, Texas.
A place called Lubbock.
I wonder if they think I'm so gorgeous back in Lubbock.
What do you care about Lubbock? You're big time now.
I'm just a little homesick, that's all.
Is that what you want, Larry? To spend the night in Lubbock, Texas at a day's inn with a $15 voucher from Cinnabon?
Lubbock? No, it's near Lubbock.
What's it like there?
It's flat, real flat. You stand on a coffee can, you can see Colorado.
How are you doing from across the Great Plains of West Texas? This is the Flatland Sports Podcast, always free and available worldwide on YouTube. Wherever you are, however you are, I hope you're doing good. I hope you're well. There is a startling trend in college football that, of course, centers around the Texas Longhorns. But are the Horns actually to blame? We'll discuss that. We'll also talk about men's and women's basketball, softball, baseball, and we'll have the good, the bad, and the ugly. But first, this episode of the Flatland Sports Podcast is powered by Midwest Helmets, where owner Dallas Thompson turns football art into a full-on experience. If you've ever wanted a custom helmet of any team, any design, or a wild idea straight from your imagination, Dallas can make it happen. Want a classic double T like the one behind me? He'll do it. Bass Boat Glitter Shell? He'll do it. Need a helmet to rep your fantasy football squad? He'll build that too. Whatever you're dreaming up, Dallas brings it to life with incredible attention to detail. These are one-of-a-kind pieces that will level up your office, man cave, podcast studio, anywhere you rep your team. To order, just DM Midwest Helmets on Instagram or hit up their Facebook page. Both are linked in the description. And when you mention Flatland Sports in your message, you'll get 10% off your custom build. Midwest Helmets, custom, bold, and built to stand out. So the Texas Longhorns have decided to cancel their future home-and-home series with the Arizona State Sun Devils in 2031 and 2032. Now, on its own, it's mildly disappointing. In context, it's something else entirely, because this isn't isolated. It's becoming part of an alarming trend in college football. For example, the Mississippi State Bulldogs have recently canceled their scheduled series with Texas Tech. And that's not one example. There's others, and there will continue to be more. Suddenly, we're seeing a pattern. SEC programs backing away from non-conference games against other Power 4 opponents, and namely Power 4 opponents from the Big 12 and the ACC. Now, the official explanation that they're giving is tidy. The SEC is moving to a 9-game conference schedule. That means they have to drop a non-conference game. Perfectly reasonable, except in 2031 and 2032, Arizona State was Texas' only non-conference opponent. They didn't have anybody else on the schedule pre-scheduled for 2031 and 2032. So they didn't need to drop them from the schedule. They didn't need to drop a Power 4 team to make room for anyone. They chose to. And the reason why tells you everything about the current state of college football. From Austin primarily, but there has been growing sentiment since Texas' so-called unfair exclusion from the college football playoff. The argument goes like this. If Texas hadn't scheduled a difficult non-conference opponent, in this case Ohio State, and instead scheduled a cupcake, they would have made the playoff. Now, this argument conveniently ignores two minor but crucial details. One, they lost to 4-8 Florida. You take that game away, that was a game that they should have won, and instead they get beat by a team that got beat to USF. And then they turned around and got absolutely dismantled by Georgia. And the stupid thing about it, going into that game, Texas is still very much in the playoff hunt. And if Texas just plays Georgia close, they probably make the college football playoff. Instead, they get absolutely drubbed. They are one of the first teams out. But those facts are less useful to the narrative. The narrative is this, though. The committee didn't reward the quality loss. And therefore, Texas must protect itself. And here's where this becomes revealing. Because the entire argument hinges on strength of schedule. And I'll say something mildly controversial, not really. Strength of schedule, as it's commonly used in college football, is an inherently flawed metric. Why? Because it's largely built on completely subjective ratings. It's based on preseason expectations, media perception, brand reputation, poll inertia. It is not a clean, objective measure like point differential or record. It's opinion stacked on top of more opinion. So when teams are told they must schedule harder opponents to improve the metric, that in itself is subjective, and they begin to question the value of the exercise altogether. If strength of schedule is elastic, if it bends to brand perception, then why voluntarily increase the risk? There's a few forces converging here. First, the SEC mystique has taken a hit. Recent playoff performances have chipped away from the aura of invincibility. Second, ESPN has a substantial financial stake in the SEC maintaining the national dominance, which, by the way, the SEC is not holding up their end of the bargain, as we just mentioned. The mystique is gone. They did not beat a single Power 4 opponent in the college football playoff that was not another SEC team. Even Paul Feinbaum came on TV and admitted that the SEC was absolute garbage last year. Fewer resume wins means fewer playoff arguments. You don't need conspiracy to understand the incentives. If the SEC stops scheduling dangerous non-conference opponents, there are fewer opportunities for the Big 12 and the ACC to score resume wins. By not scheduling the Big 12 or the ACC, you're taking away, first of all, chances for the Big 12 and ACC to prove themselves, and conversely, for the SEC to prove themselves not worthy. And the current incentive structure says avoid risk, protect the brand, maximize playoff probability. Now, here's the part that makes me sick about all of this, because I have made fun of Texas relentlessly. I will continue to make fun of Texas relentlessly, by the way. This is the softest movement that I have ever seen from a single fan base ever. I mean, to actively be rooting for your school to never schedule Ohio State again, to be pulling for your team to only ever schedule cupcakes, and to maybe stumble their way into one reasonably good game a year because you happen to be in the SEC. Oh, and by the way, those games aren't as good as they used to be because the SEC is starting to fall apart. The uncomfortable part here is Texas is absolutely right. Why should they schedule difficult non-conference opponents? Their logo alone guarantees relevance. Texas could theoretically play in the Sun Belt and still begin the season probably ranked number 1 in the country like they were last year. Their brand carries weight, independent of a resume. In fact, Texas is one of the few schools, in my opinion, that could probably handle being just an independent team altogether. They could play a schedule like Notre Dame or more likely play a schedule like UConn plays and find their way into the college football playoff every year. If the playoff committee demonstrates that perception outweighs objective results, then difficult non-conference games become an unnecessary risk. Universities are not in the business of unnecessary risk. They're in the business of maximizing access to revenue and championships. Period. So Texas is behaving logically, as crazy as it sounds. It's the system that is illogical, and Texas is taking advantage. There is no governing authority in college football capable of forcing elite programs to play each other outside of conference structures. None. Imagine if the NFL was operating this way. Imagine Kansas City simply declining to play the Buffalo Bills because it introduces unnecessary playoff risk. The league would collapse into a competitive farce. But in college football, this is perfectly permissible because there is no centralized league structure at all. There's no unified media rights. There's no legitimate commissioner with enforcement power. The NCAA lost all of its power really in the 80s, but in the last 10 years, what little power they had left got completely pulverized. It's just conferences protecting themselves the best they can, and some have done better than others. The SEC and the Big Ten have done a lot better than the Big 12 and the ACC. And until college football pools its rights and forms a true national league with a governing body capable of mandating competitive balance, the trend will accelerate. The brands will isolate, risk will diminish, the regular season will weaken and weaken and weaken, and playoff access will become more about perception than performance. Yeah, even more than it is now. Even more than it has been in the last 100 years. Even more than it was when it was simply the AP poll just deciding who they thought was the best team in the country every year. So yeah, Texas canceling Arizona State is disappointing. But in this very specific case, and I mean this very specific case, put this in a box, don't apply this logic to anywhere else for the University of Texas, Texas isn't the villain. They're simply responding rationally to a flawed system. And when rational factors operate inside a broken structure, you can't blame the actors. You have to fix the structure. It's either that or you're going to watch the sport slowly game itself into something even more unrecognizable than it is now. When we come back, we'll talk about Texas Tech men's basketball. This is the Flatland Sports Podcast presented by Midwest Helmets. Welcome back. It was a roller coaster of a week for Texas Tech. The Red Raiders delivered one of their biggest wins in program history on Saturday and then absorbed a major loss both on the scoreboard and in the lineup just days later. Texas Tech went to Tucson, knocked off the number 1 Arizona Wildcats in overtime 78-75, marking the program's first ever road win over a top-ranked opponent. Tech did beat Louisville, I believe that was 2022, in Madison Square Garden. Louisville was ranked number 1 at the time. Let's go over some stats. JT Toppin, 31 points, 13 rebounds. Christian Anderson, 19 points, 8 assists, 6 rebounds. Tech shot 44% from the field, won the rebounding battle +6, and outscored Arizona 12-9 in overtime. It was a tight game throughout, featuring multiple lead changes in the second half. Tech forced overtime with late execution on both ends, and then in the extra period, it was Toppin who delivered, scoring 8 of the Red Raiders' 12 overtime points. From a program-defining win to a quick turnaround in Tempe, just 3 days later, Texas Tech fell 72-67 on the road to Arizona State. Tech shot 41% from the field, just 6 of 22 from 3. Arizona State forced 15 turnovers, and the Sun Devils shot 48% overall. Texas Tech trailed through much of the second half. Arizona State took a late lead in the first half on a buzzer-beater three-pointer, but trimmed the deficit to 1 possession in the final minutes. A late turnover prevented a potential tying opportunity in the closing seconds. Arizona State's guard play controlled tempo down the stretch, and Tech was unable to generate consistent half-court offense late. Not to mention, Arizona State's full-court press just put Texas Tech in a bind. They had no answer for the full-court press. That was the game. Then came one of the most significant developments of the week and perhaps of the season, and not in a good way. JT Toppin suffered a right knee injury late in the Arizona State game with about 6 minutes left and did not return. Subsequent evaluation confirmed a season-ending torn ACL. At the time of the injury, Toppin was averaging 21-plus points a game, 10.8 rebounds per game, shooting nearly 53% from the field. He had just delivered a 31-point, 13-rebound performance against the number 1 team in the country on the road and was firmly in the Big 12 Player of the Year conversation. Not to mention NBA draft aspirations this offseason, all of it completely hanging in the balance now, which you hate what this is going to do for the Texas Tech basketball team. You hate even more what this has done to this kid who has just been a key point of this offense, a key point of this team altogether, and has aspirations beyond college basketball and every ability to achieve those aspirations. And now you wonder what's next. Even if JT Toppin comes back next year, it's going to be February before he has the ability to play. If you're lucky, you can get him back in January. But a tough break for Texas Tech. Even tougher break for JT Toppin, and we all wish the best for you, sir. So yes, a roller coaster of a week for Texas Tech, a statement victory that shook the national landscape, followed by a setback that reshapes the Red Raiders' rotation moving forward. With JT Toppin out for the season, the focus now shifts to how Texas Tech redistributes production on the front court. Of course, the name to watch, Luan Watts. Watts has been a rotational forward throughout Big 12 play, bringing length, defensive versatility, and rebounding ability off the bench. Now his role expands significantly. In other words, you need Luan Watts to grow up in a hurry. What Tech needs from Watts moving forward? increased rebounding presence to help offset Toppin's 10-plus boards per game, consistent interior scoring, especially second chance opportunities, defensive stability and switch-heavy lineups, and most importantly, and this is something Luan Watts has struggled with a little bit this year, staying out of foul trouble with increased minutes. Watts doesn't need to replace Toppin's 21 points per game on his own. Tech will need collective front court production, which likely means more offensive responsibility for Christian Anderson and the guards, expanded minutes for depth forwards, and a greater emphasis on half-court execution and defensive efficiency. The Red Raiders have already proven that they can win in high-pressure environments, knocking off the number one team in the country on the road. Now the next challenge begins, sustaining that level without their leading scorer and rebounder as March approaches. When we come back, we will preview the Kansas State Wildcats. This is the Flatland Sports Podcast, presented by Midwest Helmets. Welcome back. Texas Tech returns home for a pivotal Big 12 matchup against the Kansas State Wildcats, and the storyline surrounding the game is bigger than basketball as usual. The Texas Tech Red Raiders come in at 19-7 overall, ranked number 13. Kansas State sits at 11-15, but the record, of course, only part of the story. Jerome Tang was fired for cause this week, leaving Kansas State without its head coach entering this matchup. Since the dismissal, Kansas State has been trying to steady itself under interim leadership, although frankly, they seem to have been doing better without him, which really plays a lot into why Jerome Tang was fired in the first place, despite what the university is claiming. Kansas State's last 5 games, they've gone 1-4. They had a win versus Baylor, 90-74, and man, Baylor's having a terrible season. Then you lose to Houston, 78-64, lost to Cincinnati, 91-62, loss at TCU, 84-82, loss versus Iowa State, 95-61. They allow 80.4 points per game, nearly identical to the 80.6 that they score, which is a huge red flag when it comes to Big 12 play. And the other major development, of course, that we have talked about, JT Toppin has officially been ruled out for the remainder of the season. That removes 21.8 points and 10.8 rebounds per game from the Texas Tech lineup, a massive production void. So the question becomes, can Texas Tech win without Toppin? Well, the numbers suggest yes, if the formula shifts in the right way. Let's go over the season leaders. Kansas State is led by P.J. Haggerty, averaging 23.7 points per game, also leading the team in rebounds at 5.1. He is their primary scorer and shot creator. Nuwan Johnson adds 4.6 assists per game, giving Kansas State secondary playmaking. For Texas Tech, of course, now your leading scorer is Christian Anderson. He also averages 7.6 assists per game. Balanced scoring from Donovan Outwell and Luan Watts is crucial, and the team averages 81.4 points per game. Without Toppin, Tech becomes more perimeter-oriented and guard-driven. So let's break it down by the numbers. Points per game, Texas Tech edges out Kansas State 81.4 to 80.6. Points allowed, Texas Tech allows 72.3 to Kansas State's 80.4. Field goal percentages, both are exactly at 46%. Rebounds, Texas Tech 37.7 to Kansas State's 34.7. And assists, Kansas State leads that metric 17.8 to Texas Tech 16 even. So the biggest separation, of course, defense. Texas Tech holds opponents to 8 points below what Kansas State allows per game. That by itself is a recipe for success for this game. Let's go on now to the keys of the game. First, contain Haggerty. Just make someone else beat you. Haggerty, by and away, is the best player on this Kansas State team, the best scorer on this Kansas State team, and the rest of the team just, well, let's just say there's a huge drop-off after Haggerty. So take Haggerty out of the game, make someone else have to come up and beat you. Number 2, defensive discipline. Kansas State's offense can score, but they struggle defensively. Just play better defense than they do, and your offense will be able to take care of the rest, even without JT Toppin. Number 3, this was a big issue versus Arizona State. Avoid live ball turnovers. You need ball security. Do not turn the ball over 15 times this game. And last but not least, collective rebounding. Without Toppin's 10-plus boards per game, rebounding is going to have to be by committee, and it's going to have to be solid. You can't give Kansas State extra possessions. You can't give anyone extra possessions. Texas Tech leans on its defense and guard play, which is still the bread and butter. This is what Texas Tech under Grant McCasland has always been and always will be, and that is a really solid defensive team. And when you add players like JT Toppin, you can take a really, really solid team that plays really good defense and elevate them to a team that is a national championship contender. Texas Tech still has every bit of a defense that it had before, even without JT Toppin. You just now have to really, really rely on being able to hit shots from deep. Kansas State keeps it competitive behind Haggerty, but defensive inconsistency shows, and boy, was there a game to play a team that has a little bit of a soft defense. I predict Texas Tech is going to win this one, 73 to Kansas State's 67. It's going to be a composed home win and proof that the team can evolve without JT Toppin. They're going to have to. When we come back, we'll talk Lady Raider basketball. This is the Flatland Sports Podcast presented by Midwest Helmets. Welcome back. Texas Tech women's basketball splits the week, but finishes with a statement win that echoed across the Big 12. We'll start with the weekend. Number 16 Tech dropped a tight one at home to Oklahoma State, 71-66. The game was back and forth for 3 quarters, but then Oklahoma State closed strong in the fourth. Red Raiders shot only 40% from the field, outscored late in the final stretch, and couldn't convert key possessions inside the final 2 minutes. Snetta Collins and Bailey Maupin led in scoring, but the Lady Raiders couldn't overcome late execution issues. Then came the response. Texas Tech dismantled Baylor 87-56 at United Supermarkets Arena. It was the program's largest ranked victory in 25 years. From the opening tip, it was controlled aggression, over 50% shooting from the floor, double-digit lead by halftime, dominant defensive pressure, turnovers forced, transition points were converted. The Lady Raiders never let Baylor find the rhythm, and Baylor, of course, one of the better teams in the Big 12. Snetta Collins continued her high-level play. Bailey Maupin stayed efficient. Defense dictated tempo for 40 minutes. It wasn't just a win. It was absolute domination by the Baylor Bears. Take that, Kim Mulkey. I know you're not there anymore, but you still need to hear it. What it means, after the Oklahoma State loss, Tech could have stalled. Instead, they delivered one of the biggest wins of the Krista Gerlich era. And I was just talking about that in regards to the TCU game a couple weeks ago. You're building not just quality wins, but generational wins on top of each other. And momentum has been restored, confidence reinforced, and this team is positioned for a strong March. Coming up next, the Lady Raiders will take on Arizona State. That is Sunday, March 1st at 2 p.m. in the United Supermarkets Arena. You can watch that game on ESPN+. Tech looks to build off the Baylor performance and keep the push rolling. When we come back, we'll talk Texas Tech softball. This is the Flatland Sports Podcast presented by Midwest Helmets. Welcome back. Let's shift over to Texas Tech softball, where the number 1 Red Raiders turned in a strong 4-1 performance at the Shriners Children's Clearwater Invitational. Texas Tech faced 3 ranked opponents in a postseason level competition and largely delivered. The Red Raiders opened with a statement win over number 6 Florida State, taking a 3-2 victory in a tight, high-level matchup. Mia Davis delivered a key RBI single to help spark the offense, and Tech executed late to secure the win. Later in the weekend, Tech made another ranked statement, this time in dominant fashion. Against number 23 Florida Atlantic, the Red Raiders run-ruled to an 8-0 victory. Jackie Liz led the charge, finishing with 2 hits, 2 runs scored, and 2 RBIs. Lauren Allred added a 2-run home run as part of the multi-hit performance, and the offense applied pressure from the very first inning. In the circle, Najee Kennedy was sharp. She tossed 5 scoreless innings in the FAU game, striking out 5 while allowing minimal traffic. For the weekend, Kennedy continued to anchor the staff with command and efficiency against ranked competition. Saturday brought a shutout win over James Madison, a complete performance defensively. Tech controlled the strike zone, limited hard contact, and played clean behind the pitching staff. The lone loss came Sunday against number 8 Nebraska in a 3-2 matchup. Davis doubled home a run to keep Tech within striking distance, and Kennedy struck out 5 over 4.2 innings. But Nebraska capitalized in key spots. It was a tight postseason-style game between two top 10 teams. Overall, they finished the weekend 4-1. That was 2 ranked wins, a run rule victory, another high-level battle against a national contender. That is a productive week for the number 1 team in the country. Now Texas Tech heads west for the Mary Nutter Collegiate Classic. Here's the full schedule. These games happening now as I record this, by the way. Fresno State playing right now. The first pitch was at 5:30 p.m. at Yankee Field. Then they'll play Team Japan at 8 p.m. at Yankee Field for the doubleheader. Tomorrow, Bethune-Cookman at 12:30 at Wrigley Field. Saturday, Cal State Fullerton, 2 o'clock at Yankee Field. And then San Diego State, 4:30 p.m. at Yankee Field. They'll wrap it up on Sunday versus UC Riverside at 11 a.m. at Fenway Field. And all games streaming on Flow Sports. When we come back, we'll talk Texas Tech baseball. This is the Flatland Sports Podcast presented by Midwest Helmets. Welcome back. Tech baseball got its season underway at the Shriners Children's College Showdown in Arlington, opening the year against 3 nationally ranked opponents in what proved to be an early season test for the Red Raiders. Understatement of the century, by the way. First matchup was Friday versus Oklahoma. That was a 10-3 loss for the Red Raiders. Tech struck first in the season opener, manufacturing an early run and getting a strong start from Jackson Burns, who worked 4.2 innings, allowing just 1 run on 3 hits. Red Raiders kept it competitive into the late innings, but Oklahoma erupted for 5 runs in the 9th to break it open. Offensively, Tech showed flashes, but defensive miscues and late bullpen struggles allowed the Sooners to create separation. On Saturday, it was another loss, this time to number 23 Vanderbilt, 13-3 in 8 innings. Vanderbilt run ruled you. Saturday followed a similar script. Tech jumped out to a 1-0 lead early, but Vanderbilt answered with a big 4th inning and never looked back. Lucas Perko was charged with 7 runs in 3.2 innings, and the Red Raiders struggled to capitalize with runners in scoring position. Vanderbilt's timely hitting and patience at the plate stretched the lead before the run rule ended the game in 8. Sunday versus number 7 Arkansas, another loss, 5-4. This one, 11 innings. Sunday was the heartbreaker. Tech was down 4-0 early. The Red Raiders battled back behind timely hitting from Tracer Lopez, Lincoln Garcia, and Matt Quintanar. The Red Raiders tied the game and briefly grabbed a 5-4 lead late before Arkansas responded in the 9th to force extra innings. In the 11th, Arkansas walked it off on a sacrifice fly, handing Texas Tech its 3rd straight loss, but also showing that this team has the ability to compete with top 10 competition. After opening 0-3 against elite teams, Texas Tech responded with an emphatic 21-12 road win over UT-RGV. Red Raiders trailed 8-2 early, and then the Red Raiders exploded for 19 unanswered runs to secure their first victory of the season. Lincoln Garcia had 2 home runs, 6 RBIs. Connor Schaus was 5 for 6, 3 RBIs, 4 runs scored. You had 20 total hits, scored 7 out of 9 innings, production throughout the lineup. It was a statement offensive performance and a reminder of the power potential of this lineup. Texas Tech will will open the season at Rip Griffin Park this weekend for a 4-game set against U of Albany. All games will stream on ESPN+. The schedule is as follows. Friday, February 20th, that game is at 2 p.m. Saturday, you have the doubleheader, 1 game at 12 p.m. and the other game at 4 p.m., and then you'll close it out Sunday at 1 p.m. This will be an opportunity for the pitching staff to settle in at home, for the offense to continue building confidence after a 21-run explosion, and for Tech to begin stacking wins before conference play looms. And maybe just get your pitching staff to settle down a little bit. This is something you've struggled with for really multiple seasons now. After facing Oklahoma, Vanderbilt, and Arkansas to open the year, the Red Raiders now get a chance to control a weekend series on their home field. When we come back, we'll have the good, the bad, and the ugly. This is the Flatland Sports Podcast presented by Midwest Helmets. Back for one more. This is the good, the bad, and the ugly. We'll start with the good.
It's good. It's good. It's good.
Texas Tech will unveil several new facility upgrades at both Dan Law Field and Rip Griffin Park, and Rocky Johnson Field, and especially upgrades at Rocky Johnson Field, long overdue. The start of the softball and baseball seasons at home is this weekend, and the Red Raiders, respectively, will both experience new features. We'll start with Red Raiders softball. One of the biggest upgrades that you'll see, in addition to improved clubhouse and amenities for the players, but Musco LED lighting, similar to what you see in Jones AT&T Stadium, has been installed, and that allows choreographed patterns designed to music as well as after home runs. You've had this at Dan Law Field before. You don't get to use it as much because it's a little bit of a safety hazard. I suspect Texas Tech softball is going to have a lot more fun. The biggest change that you will see, though, is there is now a shade built over the stands. Much, much needed, as that stadium was the surface of the sun previously. So now you get to relax in the cool shade at Rocky Johnson Field while you're watching the number one team in the country. And then when the sun goes down, the party begins with the LED lighting system. There's also new LED lights inside the locker room. The clubhouse also features updated photos throughout the facilities of Texas Tech's historic 2025 season. And over at Rip Griffin Park, the stadium features a brand new state-of-the-art playing field from Shaw Sports Turf. As far as it, if you're a player, it is a state-of-the-art field. It is better on your knees. It is better from a just being able to play and do your job standpoint. From a fan, you'll notice it got the correct double T treatment. There is a flat double T replacing what was the giant beveled double T out and out field now, and then script Texas Tech over near home plate. Just an absolute beautiful field, and a huge upgrade over the field, which was starting to look a little worn. You could see where the base paths were starting to scrape, and it's an artificial base path turf field. I do wish Texas Tech would. Well, first of all, I wish they would replace both Jones AT&T Stadium and Dan Law Field with natural grass. I've been told that that's not possible. I seriously doubt that, by the way. It's 2026. We can grow grass wherever we want. But if you're not going to do natural grass, then at least do dirt-based paths, similar to what you see for the Texas Rangers. Either way, though, great upgrades, much needed upgrades to both stadiums, and it will improve the fan experience as well as the player experience. Let's get another good.
Welcome to Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. Can I take your order?
And I don't know necessarily if this one is a good. I believe it's good. We'll have to wait and see. And we'll definitely revisit this. But Texas Tech Jones Stadium's naming rights have expired. It's been Jones AT&T Stadium for at least 15 years, 20 years maybe. And the rights are set to expire. AT&T has decided to pull out. They will no longer be the naming sponsor of Clifford B. and Audrey Jones Stadium. That was reported by the Lubbock Avalanche Journal earlier today. So again, I don't know if it's a good thing. We'll see who the new naming rights go to. Now, I asked you on Twitter Who should get the naming rights for Jones Stadium? You all responded overwhelmingly. I've got from the Mex Dad, Matt Wells Memorial. Dear God, no. From Debbie, the Lubbock Avalanche Journal. So Jones, Lubbock Avalanche Journal Stadium. I've seen Ice for Lubbock, Jones HEB Stadium, which is a good, solid 3-letter company name to flow off of Jones AT&T. We've got Doritos Locos Taco Stadium, Jones Roses Stadium. We got to get the tortillas back for that. Lone Wolf Taco Stadium. If you know, you know. Rager Dykes Auto Group Stadium, the only correct option. That's from Connor Campbell on Twitter. And naturally, Mission Tortilla Stadium. By far, my favorite one that I have seen, though, is Jones Evie Mays Barbecue Stadium. I want this to happen solely so that we can start calling Jones Stadium the barbecue pit. However, I think the obvious choice is right in front of us, and it remains to be seen, but my belief is that we're going to be calling it Jones Double Eagle Stadium here in the near future. It's already Cody Campbell Field. Double Eagle just seems like the correct choice. I'm all for any oil and gas industry names for Jones Stadium moving forward as well. Anything oil, gas, ag-related, farm-related, whatever it is, sign me up. But it's a little bit bittersweet. Most of us have gotten very accustomed to Jones AT&T Stadium. Some of us, like me, have been around for a while, and we remember Jones SBC Stadium before SBC was bought out or merged with AT&T. I still remember when it was Clifford B. and Audrey Jones Stadium. It'll be a rough change. We've had some great memories. The naming rights started right at the beginning of the Mike Leach era. We rode through Jones SBC and AT&T Stadium through incredible highs and some pretty tough lows, and then finally to a 12-2 season and a Big 12 championship and a college football playoff berth to end the run for AT&T. Let's go ahead and play the clip.
You are looking live at Jones AT&T Stadium in Lubbock, Texas.
RIP Jones AT&T. We look forward to seeing who the new sponsor is and what they bring to the table, and the memories that will surely come with it, good and bad. Let's do a bad.
Why are you the way that you are?
As we have talked about exhaustively, JT Toppin out for the season. Just an absolute gut punch for Texas Tech. You were rolling. The way this team was playing, especially against Arizona, I was legitimately believing. And I'm not saying I don't believe anymore. It just got a lot harder. But I was legitimately believing that you were a national championship team. This looked like the year that your team was going to put it all together and maybe take it all the way to the top. You still could do that. You still have the talent to do that. You still have the ability to do that. It's just going to be a lot harder now, and you're going to need some things to really roll your way. And of course, as I said, as much as I hate this for Texas Tech basketball, as a Texas Tech fan, I hate this more for JT Toppin. Nobody deserves an injury like this, but it could not have happened to a better person. Still have a chance to make something happen in March, and you really need players, namely Luan Watts, to step up, but you're going to have to fill that void by committee. And let's get an ugly.
So dumb.
It's so dumb, it's brilliant.
No! It's just dumb.
Ute fans this week got really, really annoying. For whatever reason, I think it was from some podcast or just some chatter from inside Salt Lake City. Ute fans started sending cryptic messages about joining the Big Ten. There is a strong contingent inside the Ute fan base that believes they're going to the Big Ten as early as next year. It's not going to happen. Guys, I'm sorry. I'm not really that sorry because you guys annoy the hell out of me, but it's not going to happen. If it was going to happen now come back in 2030. But if it was going to be happening soon, it would have already happened when the Pac-12 was collapsing and the Big Ten could have gotten you for basically free. Well, I mean, let's not pretend like Utah wasn't going to be willing to do the SMU thing and basically join the Big Ten for free. And the Big Ten still didn't want you over. They picked the USC, UCLA, of course, but then the second wave of Pac-12 teams going to the Big Ten, you were not a part of that shit. They picked Oregon and Washington. So never mind the fact that Utah has not won a single Big 12 championship in any sport. They sit here with this holier than thou attitude, acting like they're too good for this when they can't even win games. Relax. Enjoy the ride. It's a good conference with a lot of good fans, and if you would just quit acting like lunatics, you could maybe get a piece of that too. That's all I've got for you today. Please take a moment to like and subscribe to the channel. It's free for you. It helps me tremendously. Special thanks to my sponsor, Midwest Helmets, who's provided me with this absolutely beautiful classic 1970s Texas Tech football helmet. They built it for me. They can build it for you. Mention Flatland Sports to get 10% off your custom build. I'll be back on Monday with the Flatland Sports Minute. We'll have another podcast on Thursday night. Thursday night is the new home of the Flatland Sports Podcast, by the way. We finally settled on what I believe will be an official time. And hold on to Thursday nights, because when I transition to live shows, that's when it's going to be. We'll try to shoot for Thursday nights around 8 p.m.-ish. But I will keep you posted on how that goes. Once again, for Flatland Sports, I am Christopher Johnson. Thank you so much for taking the time today, and Wreck 'em Tech.